I'm Adam Myerson. I'm here with Merv Davis. We are at the 28th edition of the Verge Northampton International Cyclocross, presented by CycleSmart. Been organizing this race since I was a 19-year-old UMass student. We've been over here at Look Park in Northampton since 2003, and we're gonna take you around a lap of what is often referred to as the Grass Criterium World Championships. Let's get after it. We're here in the start grid. Same start grid for both days, though it connects into the course differently on day 2 than it does on day 1. Of course, day 2 is just day 1 in reverse with a couple other changes. So with this start grid, you enter the course just before the last corner, and then you actually go through the start line. And so we'll do that here. Grass start, but it's athletic field grass, so it's very smooth and even and groomed. You go by the pit, which we'll do again at the end. So this section you'll do twice. First big turn, or first turn, is a big sweeping U-turn. Room for 150 cat 4 or 5 men, hopefully. That leads you into the start finish, or the finish straight. Long sprint, probably 200 meters from the last corner. Turn 1 is a spacious U-turn around home plate. One of the features of Northampton has turned out to be the baseball diamonds. They're not used by the park anymore, and there are 4 baseball diamonds that we ride through in a different configuration, and my goal with each one is to force you to do something tricky. The dirt deteriorates throughout the race and the lines change, they get rutted, so each one is a different puzzle to solve. Baseball diamond 2 is L-shaped. It's smooth and hard packed right now. Once it gets a little bit of water on it and a few hundred racers, the lines will start to form, the ground will break away. Tighter than 90 turn into the entrance, and then you sort of run the bases. And this one's tricky because you actually can go very fast, and then all of a sudden the ground disappears underneath you when you think you've got traction. This stretch takes you along Club Row, and it's often a bit of a sprint to get to the pavement. Those of you who've done previous editions of the race will remember this as the old finish line. Wavy pavement stretch back towards the woods. Pavement goes into a muddy, slippery U-turn. Second U-turn, and then we enter the woods for the first big run up and a little up down just before it. And then the classic run up. We've had some erosion here in the year, so we put some water bars in, put some dirt down. Lots of space, lots of different ways to go. All of them are steep. Now we're in the upper tier of the course, the more wooded section. Getting some slippery, tricky turns. Some of them have roots, some of them have rocks, some of them have gravel. These gravel turns get slippery. And here's where you have a dividing line. There's a pro line and an amateur line. Merv's taking the pro line. I'm gonna go down the amateur line. And then they merge at the bottom. So only the elite UCI, elite races will use that upper line and the drop in that follows. We're along the train tracks and then into the sand. Straight through the sand, U-turn on the other side, back through the sand again. Right now the sand is pretty hard packed. It'll get churned up, softened up for tomorrow. It won't be so easy to ride tomorrow. Now we're back in the second pass of the pit, although from the finish line, it's the first pass of the pit. Over the train tracks. Big sweeping turns that lead into some tighter technical turns in the flat grass before the ride up slash run up. These turns are fast. Riders tend to slide out and crash because it's possible to take a lot of speed into them. And get in over your head. This is a ride up until the stairs. Technique is about how far you can coast up the hill before you have to dismount before the stairs. Remount to the top and then some tricky off cambers here. They're very slippery today. It's supposed to rain tonight, so they'll be even more slippery tomorrow. This next section, we removed the back and forth on the bike path and the Rudy section to keep the lap a little shorter. It was a very long lap. And bring us back sooner to the technical section in the woods. Now we're back into the deep wood section. Up and down off camber. That will get rutted and tricky. And then a couple new lines through the mud here. Drop off from the top level down, and then 2 passes over the train tracks. Back to the lower field. This leads into the expo area and the barriers. Barriers are low and hoppable, but close enough together that you have to slow down to do it. And so it won't be an advantage for everybody. Fast turns out of the barrier section, out of the expo. Baseball diamond number 4. Is S-shaped. Again, hard packed with grass right now, but will break up and get slippery. That leads to pit passage number 2 that we did already at the start. So now you've reconnected with the start section, and then this which was your first corner at the start, will be your last corner at the finish. The battle for this corner, if you're in a group, is always fierce. And then there's your sprint to the finish. And there you go. So as you can see, the course is really fast right now, even with the changes that we made. It is a little wet from the rain we got in the week, and it's supposed to rain overnight tonight. So again, it never really gets truly muddy here, but the corners will get slippery. The section of the woods could get a little bit muddy. Not enough to change bikes, but enough to make it certainly tricky in the corners. It's not gonna be super cold like it was last year, so I think it's gonna be fun for everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.